I know there have been numerous problems with this expansion since it was released, and a lot of people have talked about it, but I wanted to talk about one issue in particular that I find, for me at least, insanely frustrating. The issue is with the alchemy and herbalism profession, and it's regarding the spawn rate and the availability of the herb known as anchorweed, along with just how many of these herbs are required to make flasks that are required for raiding and the higher Mythic Plus dungeon keys. Now just to explain, this herb is somewhat rare, as it has the chance to spawn from any ground herb that has been picked, such as Winter's Kiss, Riverbud or Sea Stalks, etc. So if I pick say a Riverbud herb, when that herb respawns, an anchorweed herb has the chance to spawn in its place. The problem with this is that it makes gathering these herbs a painstaking and random process. The fact that I have to pick certain herbs in a particular zone, then run around on my mount in a loop of a farming area within that zone, whilst contending with mobs and other players doing the exact same thing, to then hope I discover an anchorweed that has spawned from a node that either I or another player has previously picked, is just downright stupid. If you have the rank 3 anchorweed herbalism skill, then you have a chance of getting between 3 to 5 herbs per node, as I have never had less than 3 or more than 5. So okay, that's not too bad, you might think. However, it is, as the requirements for making any of these flasks is that it requires 5 anchorweed for 1 flask. And remember, as I've just said, anchorweed is difficult to come by, and that's not including the other herbs that you also require to make the flask. So if you think I'm complaining over something small and minor, let me try and explain why I think this is a problem. Now, I spent 2 hours or so farming for anchorweed, and these are the results of the herbs I obtained whilst doing this. Take into consideration the downtime for fighting the occasional mob, and the fact that other players were also farming in the area, and that I also picked other herbs that did not affect the spawn rate just because they were nearby. So in that time frame I gathered 25 Acunda's Bite, 194 Sea Stalks, 267 Star Moss, 352 Siren's Pollen, 622 Riverbud, 866 Winter's Kiss, and I got only 18 anchorweed. Now, should I have gotten more? Was I just unlucky? Who knows? Could I have farmed more herbs than this in that time scale? Maybe I could have, but I find doing this both dull and boring. So after a while it starts to become a chore, and this is not how I want to be spending my time in game. Now with those 18 herbs, I can make a total of 3 flasks. I do have all the rank 3 flask recipes, so I do have the chance for those to proc into additional flasks, but it also means they have a chance not to proc any additional flasks as well. Relying on procs is not a good enough solution or justification on this herb being so rare, in my opinion. So why don't I just buy the mats or the flasks, since I really don't have the time to farm them? Well, as of making this video, the current cost of these herbs on the auction house on my server is 800 gold for 1 herb. They have been as high as 1200, but they seem to average out at around 1000 gold per 1 herb, and I don't have an endless supply of gold. So let's just say I never do any Mythic Plus dungeons or no pug raids. Instead, I were to only raid with my guild just 2 times a week for 3 hours each raid, so 6 hours per week. This means I would need 2 flasks per raid and 4 in total. The fact that I'm an alchemist gives me 1 hour extra on the duration of any flask I use, so if you were not an alchemist, you would need 6 flasks and the cost would be higher. So if I just take the lowest cost on my server right now of 800 gold and times that by 5 anchorweed, which would give me 1 flask at a cost of 4000 gold. I need 4 flasks for that week, so that works out at 16,000 gold for 1 week. If prices are to remain around that price, then you're looking at 64,000 gold per month, which is just crazy and unsustainable. That's not including any Mythic Plus dungeons or additional hours raiding, where most guilds and groups will require the use of a flask. As for buying a flask that requires these herbs, they are normally around the same price, so it's no real difference. And I'd say it's actually more profitable to just sell the herb itself. So please note, I'm not looking to hurt anyone's gold making methods or anything like that. What I'm trying to point out is that the way this is currently working is having a negative impact on certain people who enjoy playing the game to raid or do Mythic Plus dungeons. So I can think of 3 simple solutions to help with this situation. Number 1. Increase the spawn rate of anchorweed nodes. This of course makes the herb more available and less time consuming to go out farming for. Number 2. Reduce the number of anchorweed required to make a flask. So if you want to keep the spawn rate as high as it is, then reduce the costs of making a flask, say from 5 anchorweed to 1. This means if you are at rank 3 herbalism, you are guaranteed to be able to at least make 3 flasks from 1 spawn. You could reduce the rank 3 flask proc rate from the alchemy profession to maybe compensate for this. Or solution number 3. Allow any herbalist who has rank 3 on a specific herb to have the chance for that specific herb to also contain an anchorweed when picked. The more rank 3 herbs you have, the more opportunities you have to obtain an anchorweed herb. In the long run this would be more beneficial, as it would allow you to pick a herb from any location within Battle for Azeroth, as it would have a chance of containing an anchorweed herb when picked. This would also mean people would not be farming a specific zone location, as instead all zones all over Battle for Azeroth would have a chance to drop the herb. All of these solutions would reduce the value of the herb itself, but it would still be a profitable herb to sell. It would however bring the price of the herb more in line with what people can actually afford to pay. Anyway guys, let me know if you feel the same way about this. Do you agree with my solutions, or do you not even think that this is a problem? I'm sure people will have a mixed view on this topic, but I'd like to know how others feel. So thanks for watching, please do comment, like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.